Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I want to share with you about the one time where I quit social media for like over a month, and my realization is quite interesting. I discovered things about myself that I really never known that were in me in a way, and it was quite an interesting experience. So I quit social media like earlier this year around like March, April. And for context, I work in communication, so that means like part of my work involves social media. So I had to come to a realization that I have to put some of my work on pause, or like there's some adjustments that I had to do at my work area as well to just like reduce my overexposure to social media, because I feel like I was over consuming stuff, which was a bit like keeping me in a weird state. I was having like a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, like here and there. So it was quite interesting because I also had to like change and like reshape how I'm doing my work to also ensure that I'm not going through social media, because my work, part of it has to do with social media. So let's get into the video. So a few steps I took to ensure that I'm quitting social media for a while is I deleted all the applications on my phone. So first I logged out Instagram and then deleted the app on my phone. And then for WhatsApp, because I still use it on like my day-to-day communications, the only thing I did for WhatsApp is I muted everyone on like status. So I would only go to WhatsApp to like send messages and reply to messages and take calls and stuff like that, but I would not watch anybody's status, and I wasn't posting anything on my WhatsApp status. And for Facebook, I don't really use Facebook on my day-to-day life, but I normally use it for my work. So I also like logged off my Facebook account and like deleted it for a while. I also did the same for LinkedIn, but I made an exception. At first, I did delete it to Pinterest. At first, I did delete Pinterest too, but in the course of like, I think within the first 2 weeks of me quitting like everything, I realized I need some place to take all that, because I found myself holding my phone so many times, and then I realized I have nothing to do with the phone, and then I have to put it down. So later I realized maybe I could just like use Pinterest as like a time killer, like something to just pass time whenever I want to just scroll, because I realized unlike Instagram, where we can feel very much overstimulated by like everybody's life, Pinterest is a bit like, it's just, I think Pinterest comes from like a good angle. It just gives you inspiration and stuff you want to do. So there's that positivity energy that comes with Pinterest that is rarely associated with like Instagram, which is why later I made an exception for Pinterest, and I would like use Pinterest for like killing time and stuff like that. So after a month of not actively using my social media accounts and not actively being on my social media accounts, I came to a very funny realization that actually, yeah, what they say is true. Like social media is addictive. And I feel like quitting alcohol is a lot more easier than quitting social media, because I did struggle. Like I did struggle so much. And especially because there are a lot of times where you'd feel like lonely, because I think when you have Instagram and when you have like TikTok and stuff like that, you can easily kill like 3 hours just scrolling. So in your head you feel like you're busy and stuff like that. So you're just like passing time. But when you don't have those apps, and you then realize like how much time you actually have in your hand. And then because I didn't like have a routine for other stuffs in my life, I was feeling like very bored most cases. Like the loneliness was starting to creep in, because like most times I say when I'm from work, I'm just at home chilling. I'm like, what am I doing now? Like I have 3 4 hours, 5 hours even before my bedtime, and I'm just like, I have nothing to do, because I can scroll for like 3 hours and I can read for that long. Usually I tend to keep like reading at the very end of my day, the 2 or 1 hour before I have to go to bed, so that to like calm everything down. So I came to realize like how much we just dedicated a lot of our time to social media, and then we always complain that we don't have time, which is very interesting as well. So that was the first realization, that loneliness can easily creep in, but also we have a lot of time that we don't realize we have a lot of time, because we like just give it most of it away to like social media and stuff like that. The second realization that I had is, if you want to quit social media, I think the best thing you can do is make sure you have replacements for it. Because for me, I felt the loneliness came in a bit earlier, because I had no plan about it. I had no plan on like what replacements I'll give myself to do instead of like being scrolling on social media. So maybe if you like have planned some activities for yourself to do instead of like scrolling, then it's easier. Let's say if you want to start a new hobby, let's say if you want to start like reading more hours, or like if you want to start like learning a language, or if you want to start like coloring books and stuff like that, so that you have like something to do just for the fun of it when you're not scrolling. Because I felt a bit more lonely when I felt like I have time, but then I can go to social media, I have nothing to do. And then that thought of like I have nothing to do would just depress me as well, which is like the whole point of quitting social media, to like reduce this overstimulation and being like feeling depressed. But then it was slowly creeping in because I didn't put like the right replacements for social media. So I think if you're gonna do it the right way, you should have like the right replacements for social media. Also, I think the loneliness can also creep in a bit easily, as if you are one of those people who like like as of now there's like a love language, I would say, where like people just share reels. Like sometimes you and your friend, maybe you're not talking for like months, but you just share reels on Instagram, and that's like your way of keeping in touch. So if that is also your way of keeping in touch, you have to know that at a certain level you feel like isolated, you feel lonely, because apparently in like the analog way, there's no way to communicate through like reels and stuff like that. You still have to be online, and then which means you also have to be overstimulated. So that means if you quit social media, just know that there will be like a massive changes, especially if you've adjusted your life where most of your communications or like most of your interactions with your friends involve social medias. So just be warned. I think no one ever speaks about how when you quit social media, you could easily feel like some form of FOMO, like fear of missing out, because these days it feels like everything is online and everyone just posts everything that they do. So like when you're doing stuff out there and you're not posting about it, you could easily feel like I'm not doing anything. Also, when you see your friends like posting stuff, I mean, like even later, or like even people talk about the stuff that have been posted, you feel like, oh my god, I'm missing out, I feel like, yeah, you definitely feel that FOMO. So that was another realization that I had. Like, you feel the fear of missing out, even if the things that they're doing are not really your things, but you still feel like, oh my god, I'm missing out. So I think if you just like get into it with that mentality that like these things will happen, and then you find like ways to go around it, maybe it's gonna be easier. But for me, like the first few weeks are a bit easier, but then and when I was approaching that month, it was slowly becoming like harder and harder to keep up. But I think if I'm ever gonna do like a social media cleanse again, I've learned from my experience, and I think I will frame it in a better way, like through these lessons that I'm sharing with you. So the problems that I'd come to realize are always associated with like quitting social media, or the problems that you'll face if you don't quit social media the right way is, the first thing is the overstimulation, where you're feeling overstimulated with the amount of free time that you have, and you feel like I have nothing to do. So it's still starting to feel, you can feel like a bit worthless, especially if you feel like I have so much time, I don't have anything to do, I'm very useless, I'm very lazy and stuff like that. You could easily drag yourself through that if you haven't like pre-planned what are you going to replace social media with, because in most cases we normally have the same time, but because now most of us are into social media and are addicted to it, so like we kill 3 5 hours just scrolling around, and then we feel like we're being productive. But when you quit social media, you realize how much free time you actually have, and then if you haven't planned stuff for it, you could easily feel like you're being a lazy person, like using your time well and stuff like that. So you could easily feel overstimulated by that thought and the idea of having all that free time. So plan wisely. The second problem that I'd noticed with like quitting social media is that because now you're not interacting with people through like social media and stuff like that. So now your largest form of communication is like through people's interactions. And I realized because of that, I was giving a lot more weight to people's thoughts, because I don't know why, but maybe it's because I didn't have a distraction. I didn't have anything to distract my mind. So when anybody would say like anything small, big, medium to me, like I would give it so much weight. And then later I realized, like in this life, we're not supposed to give that much weight to people's thoughts, because sometimes even they themselves don't even mean it like that, or sometimes they're not even aware of what they're saying. So like we don't really have to give it that much thought. But I realized because I didn't have like any other distraction, I didn't have like any other form of communication and stuff like that, like I would easily give so much weight on people's thoughts, which wasn't a good thing. So I should be warned about that. To end up, I think I'd like to say, even though social media is a bit toxic and stuff like that, I think even if you just stop using it and don't keep the right replacements, you could easily fall back to it, and you could easily feel that you need it, even though in most cases we don't need it. So like just have the right systems and the right places to like do it. But also on the other side, like social media is not that bad, honestly. It's not that bad. It's the overconsumption of it that's like dreading us. So I think we don't all have to like quit social media for like a year, for like 3 years and stuff like that. If you could just find a way to use it moderately on the daily, I feel like it should be fine for most of us. But the problem that we're now facing is that like most of us are over consuming it. And to be fair, like there's nothing in this world that you could over consume and be safe. Like even something as simple as drinking water. Like drinking water is supposed to be good for your health, but drinking too much water is also harmful for your health. So it's the overconsumption that is the problem, and it's not the social media in itself. So I think that was my final realization after putting social media, because even I thought maybe social media was the one that was making me depressed. I thought maybe social media was the one that was making me feel like a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. And then I later came to realize that it's not social media that was making me go through all of that. It was the fact that I was over consuming it. And then I was using the content that I'd over consumed to like benchmark myself, to like see myself against the others and start the comparison and stuff like that, which is where the harmful part now comes in. So we can just learn to like be moderate with it, and all should be fine, I think. So this was my experience through the journey of trying to quit social media. I would like to hear if you've ever tried to do like a social media cleanse, if you have tried to like quit social media and stuff like that. And I don't know, like, what was your thoughts? What was your experience with it? Like, how did you go? Like, how far did you even manage to abstain social media, and what you learned from it? Let me know everything in the comments down below. And this is it for this video. Until next time, adios.